Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Songwriter Spotlight. My name is Sonia, and we are coming to you this evening from the West Tennessee Delta Heritage Center in Brownsville, Tennessee, home of the Sleepy John Estes Home, as well as the Tina Turner Museum. We bring you Songwriter Spotlight every first and third Thursday evening of the month, so please plan to join us again on one of those evenings. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing to you Mike Mielenhausen, better known as Minnesota Mike to most people. Mike, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I am looking forward to hearing your songs and your stories. So tell me a little bit about Minnesota Mike.
Yeah, so I'm Minnesota Mike, as my name would imply, although I still get that question a lot. I am from the great state of Minnesota, but I'm a Spanish teacher over in Millington, and I actually moved down here partially for I teach Spanish, and there wasn't a whole lot of stuff open in Minnesota when I was applying for teaching jobs, and so I knew that I also wanted to be in a music community. And so that's what brought me down here. I'm very heavily influenced by Bob Dylan, in the sense that there's a story behind all of my songs. All of my songs are stories, and that's probably my biggest influence. Moved down here and started doing a bunch of open mic nights and all of that. And one of my friends' mom, actually, when she would describe me, she said, she'd refer to Mike, and they knew a bunch of Mikes, and so they'd say which one, and they said, Minnesota Mike, and so that's kind of where the name came from. I write every day, writing every day for the past 9 years, but really interested in songwriting, especially since about 2007, so about 15 years. Just a fun way to cope with all of life's joys and stresses and all of that good stuff.
How did you first get into music?
So in terms of playing music and all of that, my parents had my brother and me take piano lessons when I was about 8. My brother would have been about 10. My brother wanted to quit piano lessons, and so, being the younger sibling, I told my mom, I'm like, well, if you let him quit, you gotta let me quit too. And so I did, but then took up guitar a couple years later, and then also just recently learned how to play the piano again. A lot of my earliest memories were, my dad bringing me to school and playing, Bob Dylan, Eric Clapton, Allman Brothers, all the blues artists, and listening to those. And then my mom was a little bit more, modern, if you will, in her music taste, big Prince fan, local Minnesota guy as well. And, semisonic bands like that, that my mom got me into. So it was just a really good mix of, stuff that I was listening to that really informed my own music and how I write and what I write about and all of that good stuff.
What was it that made you want to start writing your own music, creating your own songs?
I think it was kind of decided for me. Some of the stuff that I originally wrote was, tributes to my favorite artists. I had a song early on called Decade Dash, and it talked about the evolution of music from the Beatles on, or actually going even back further to Elvis and then the Beatles, the Eagles, Rolling Stones, things like that. And then the second album that I wrote for was after I got rejected for prom my junior year. And so, when I say that, it kind of came to me as to why I started writing songs. Some of it was just necessity for heartbreak and grieving with that. But the funniest part about that to me is that I wrote that particular album, the prom rejection album, and then I said to myself, I don't want to be known for breakup songs. And so then I wrote this album called Wild Wild West, which was basically two stories, 5 parts each. And, so it was really different. And then, a little later on, I started getting my heart broken again. And so it was one of those things where I went through a long stretch of, sure, I don't want to be known for this, but after a while, I just kind of embraced it that, I can write some heart-wrenching breakup songs, and I'm kind of good at it. And so that, like I said, just kind of born out of necessity, writing and figuring out, okay, how do I cope with these emotions? And so all of that brought me to start writing my own songs.
What about the first song you're going to do for us?
Oh, the first song I'm going to do, this is a song called Drive By Trucker, and this is a song that, if you're familiar with the band Drive By Truckers, that's what inspired the title, but this particular song was written because I had a friend who, had some relationship issues, and she'd always call me, and then she'd always wind up with somebody else. And so I was just like, oh yeah, no, I'm just passing through in your mind. And so that's what led to me writing Drive By Trucker. And this is a song off of my most recent full-length album called Cinco de Mayo. So I hope you enjoy it. This is Drive By Trucker. I'm just a drive-by trucker, nothing more than a sucker that you can just string along. I level out the pain, but you don't do the same once you find you want me gone. Well, your problems just way too damn much. There's no way they'll fit in the bed of my truck. I got my head out the window with my foot on the gas. Once you take what you want, you just let me pass. I'm just a drive-by trucker, nothing more than a sucker that you can just string along. I level out the pain, but you don't do the same once you find you want me gone. Well, every time you're in panic mode, I'm forced to exit early off the road. You always think I left fuel left in the tank, but after I stop, I get no thanks. I'm just a drive-by trucker, nothing more than a sucker that you can just string along. I level out the pain, but you don't do the same once you find you want me gone. Just a drive-by trucker, and don't be surprised when I don't come through for you in the clutch, 'cause I'm getting no thanks for stopping when you say you've had enough. I'm just a drive-by trucker, nothing more than a sucker that you can just string along. I level out the pain, but you don't do the same once you find you want me gone. I'm just a drive-by trucker, nothing more than a sucker that you can just string along. I level out the pain, but you don't do the same once you find you want me gone.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Bob Dylan. What is it about Bob Dylan that you find so inspirational?
It's really a little bit hard to pinpoint, but like I said, I was 4 years old when I heard all of these songs for the first time. And, I'm not going to claim to understand Bob Dylan or to have understood Bob Dylan at the age of 4. Because there are people my age and older who don't understand Bob Dylan. But I saw an interview with him recently, or read an interview with him recently, talking about Buddy Holly and the Beatles, and saying that, when he saw them, he could just tell that there was something different about the way that they, went about their music. And to me, that's what it is for Bob Dylan. I think it's just his, sense of narrative that's really, really good, his stories, but they're also very, very personal. And I think that, for me, it's something that I have, writing all of these kind of heartbreak songs and all of that. Bob Dylan is one of those artists who, gives me permission as a guy to feel sad or to feel angry or, something along those lines. And so I think that, his level of output paired with, just how he, goes about writing and, what he writes about and all of that, I think that that is just, always appealed to me, because there's always a story behind his songs. And, it told me, okay, yeah, I can tell stories within my songs because my story's worth telling, as is his,
What about your songwriting process? How do you formulate those ideas and those feelings into a song?
Yeah, I think, a big thing for me, and this, kind of goes back to Dylan, is that he always has said, there's got to be a melody of some sort in my head, so even though the lyrics always come first, it's kind of more of a simultaneous process. And so for me, I always kind of pinpoint, okay, what am I feeling here, with this song? What's the emotion that's behind it? Is it anger? Is it confusion? Is it sadness? Happiness, whatever. And then, what's a song that that already exists that kind of fits that mood, and and so just trying to go for the same feel, because what that one song made me feel, that's what I want my song to make other people feel like, and so it's kind of those two things together, coming together, saying, what are the lyrics, and then what vibe would go well with this song.
What's another song you're going to play for us?
So this is one of my favorite stories behind one of my songs. So a couple of years ago, I was messing around on the dating apps. This particular match was from Bumble. And we went on a couple of dates, and I know it's Bumble, but it seemed to be going pretty well. And so, we, went on these 2 dates, and then just out of nowhere, she stopped texting me. And so I, was kind of like, okay, that's really weird. I confronted her about it, and she said, oh, sorry, I'm just not good at this stuff. And I'm thinking, the relationship stuff or the texting me back, which stuff are you not good at? But anyway, so about 8 months later, I was walking in downtown Memphis where I live, and she, says to, or, I run into her, and she says to me, she goes, "Oh, it's funny to see you here." And I said, "I live here. Why is that funny?" And so anyway, the next day I was talking with somebody, and I said, "Oh, if you need to get a hold of me, you know how. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. And so normally a lot of my process is, listening to other people and, goofy things they say within conversations and all of that. But in that case, I was like, ooh, this is something I said that's good for a song. And so that led me to the hook. Just put it in this situation. So that's how Same Phone Number came about. All right, so here's Same Phone Number. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. So don't you dare try to tell me it just disappeared. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. I ran into you just the other day. I think it took you by surprise. Swore you had my number somewhere, but couldn't think of it. No matter how hard you tried, you've known me 'cause maybe you just like it when I crawl. I think you just enjoy seeing me in tears. I'm at the same phone number for 15 years. Maybe if I changed it to your area code like we talked about in the past, you and I would not be stuck in this other mess. You say it slipped your mind each time you tried to give me a ring, and you know that I'd believe you if it weren't for just one thing. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. So don't you dare try to tell me it just disappeared. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. You may have lost my digits, maybe screening my calls, 'cause maybe you just like it when I crawl. I think you just enjoy seeing me in tears. I've had the same phone number for 15 years. For 15 years.
You mentioned that you're a Spanish teacher. How long have you been teaching?
This is my 7th year.
7 years. So do you ever write any of your music in Spanish?
Every once in a while, yeah, I'll come up with something in Spanish, and it's pretty fun to, just kind of switch it up a little bit.
Let's talk a little bit about the Memphis Songwriters Association. I think you're pretty involved with them, right?
Absolutely. So I'm the secretary for the Memphis Songwriters Association, and what we do, we really want to empower songwriters to improve their craft, and so we host weekly meetings and workshops and all of that to help songwriters like I said, improve their craft. But another big thing is just providing a community for those songwriters as well, that we want to help them become more dynamic songwriters, but we want them to be able to network with other songwriters and be able to maybe find that connection that I need somebody to play saxophone on this particular track. I don't know anybody, but here you've got a good community. And so we definitely want to encourage that community, and so that's what we do.
Tell me about Be There. What's the story behind that song?
Yeah, so it's really interesting there. I mentioned coming from another song, and there's a song called "Be There" by Howie Day, I believe it is. And I thought, ooh, that's a cool name for a song. And about 9 years ago, I was going through this breakup, and it was in the middle of February in Minnesota, and so it was already really cold and dreary and all of that. But this particular song just kind of took me back to when this person and I had met about 11 months earlier in March of 2012. And so it kind of goes through like, okay, this is when we first met. This is when we first started talking about dating. This is when, I first found out that you had lied to me about something. And then, February just kind of talks about the rise and fall of that relationship. And it was inspired by the song Already Gone by Sugarland. Because I felt like that gave me the best narrative device to go through all of these things, and then just kind of at the end say, kind of it is what it is, and so that's where Be There comes from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Looking forward to hearing it.
All right. I remember that day, the 16th of March. To me it felt like it was was only the start of something much bigger, but I didn't make a move for fear that I'd lose you. On came the summer, after that spring, we talked about the future. You didn't promise a thing, thought that you might be moving the fall of that year, but gave me hope for us if you were here. October, I asked if weekends I could see her. You told me you were heading for Korea, too busy, and to me a relationship wouldn't be fair, 'cause you would not be there, 'cause you would not be there. On came November, your heart started to ache. The man you loved turned you down, that made me break. Not because I meant for you, but because I was duped. You felt like you couldn't tell me the truth. Things were just fine till February 10th, and suddenly it started to bug me again. So I worked up the courage to give you a call, and that marked our final fall. All of the memories we made, you threw all of them away. No matter what you told me, I knew that you didn't care. You did not want to be there. You did not want to be there. You did not want to be there. You did not want to be there.
Let's talk about your albums. Tell us how many you have, and then tell us how people can connect with you online or hear more of your music.
I have 4 out right now, and then 1 standalone single, which is same phone number. So yeah, I'm on Spotify and iTunes as Minnesota Mike, and also YouTube as Minnesota Mike. My YouTube page is actually for newer songs, because like I said, I write every day, and so there are certain songs that, you know, I might not get to immediately, but, you know, that still deserve the light of day in the interim. And then I'm also on Instagram and Facebook as Minnesota Mike, so you can find me there as well.
Well, you said that you really embrace the heartbreak songs, and you've given us some really good examples of that, but is Some Girls another heartbreak song?
It is, but it looks at it in a little bit more of a humorous way. So this is a song that was inspired by Life's Been Good by Joe Walsh. And it's one of those songs that, you know, it just kind of came about. And this one, Be There, is also on my album No Curtain Call. But this is one of 2 tracks on that album that was not written in that initial week of, you know, the grieving process and the heartache. And so it's pretty radically different than any of my other songs. But this is a song called Some Girls. And, you know, I want you guys to pay close attention, because there's at least one true thing in every verse. So I hope that you can pick out what that at least one thing is. This is Some Girls. Some girls just cannot understand how they could be with a bearded man. They get offended when I ask them out. Some girls reject me time and time again, then wonder why we can't be friends. My little black book is a rejection list. Some girls take pride in adding to this. I tell them please just take a chance, but they never will reverse their stance. Some girls put restraining orders in place so they don't have to see my face. Some girls just won't leave me alone. They text me on my cellular phone. They stalk me as they're praying the night. They are more creepy than I would like. Some girls reject me and I take the blow, but that's just the way it goes.
Thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope that you've enjoyed Mike's songs as well as his stories, and you'll plan on joining us again in 2 weeks for another Songwriter Spotlight. Mike, thank you so much for being here. I'm really curious about the song that you're going to play us out on. I want to hear the story of possum dumplings.
Yeah, possum dumplings, yeah. So this song I mentioned earlier that, I pay attention to things that my friends say and other people. My friend Amber lives in Arkansas, middle of nowhere Arkansas, and she was telling this story, and she said, she said, I walked out in my backyard the other day, and she said I saw a big old pile of possum dumplings just there in the backyard. And I looked at her and I said, I don't know what possum dumplings are, and I probably don't want to know, but I'm going to turn it into a song by tomorrow. And so I took possum dumplings, and it was inspired by Darling Nikki by Prince, and so it's a little more radio friendly than Darling Nikki is, but one of the things that I really enjoyed about it is that if you watch Purple Rain, Darling Nikki is actually kind of a getting back at Apollonia Kotero, in her character in the movie. And so to me, Possum Dumplings really takes that essence of, this is a breakup song and you're gonna know it immediately. But anyway, so my friend was like, hey, what even rhymes with dumplings? I'm thinking maybe something. And I said, yeah, that's enough to go on. And so that ended up being the hook. So here is Possum Dumplings. I ran with you, my Georgia girl, all the way to the end of the earth. We talked about starting a family, even talked about naming